Even if some of it is cobbled together, it's still fragments of silicon.
All right, welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon. I'm your host, Adam. Joining me, as always, are Petty and the Golics. So before Max Life is in shambles once again. So there will be no episode of MSP tonight. We will be aiming to have a new MSP episode next week. Hopefully that will be able to occur. But in the meantime, let us get to our news. Petty, why don't you start us off this week?
It's not been a good week.
Hmm.
Luna is rather ill.
Mm-mm.
I mentioned it Wednesday. She was not wanting to eat. We took her to the vet again 4 times last week.
Mm.
They've given her various shots and stuff. And like right now the biggest thing is she's very constipated. And we don't know how much of that is from the dewormer they gave her, and she's also very lethargic, so we don't know how much of that is from like the anti-inflammatory, because that can cause that.
This is an elder states cat, so some of it might just be she very old.
No, it's probably the meds, because last Monday she was perfect. Like there was nothing wrong with her at all. And I guess for anyone new, Luna is my 16-year-old cat. So yeah, she is rather an old lady. But yeah, like one of our friends who's a vet tech who's been helping give Luna like the laxative we just got her, because of mine and my sister's disabilities, it's hard for us to hold Luna and get the gets liquid medicine, get the thing up to her mouth and shoot it down her throat.
Mm.
So it's one of those, and even she says like, because Luna's still like trying to fight her to get away, and Luna's not trying to hide somewhere, it's probably just that she's not feeling good and not that she's, the time is not coming yet.
Okay.
So we're probably thinking we're gonna see if she goes, relieves herself tonight into tomorrow and starts feeling better. If she's not feeling better Friday, we're going to take her to the vet again, where they have something they call a daycare, where basically it's a nice way to be like observation, like inpatient observation. So they can keep an eye on her, get any tests if they need any more, and stuff like that. So hopefully Luna's okay and just had a bad reaction to one of the meds they gave her. That will clear up soon. But yeah, that's just been, a lot of stress from that, because Luna's basically probably the closest thing I'm going to have to a kid. So it's sad to see her like that, but like she's still looking around. She's she'll still look at you. It's not like a cat when they're passing. They'll look past you if they even bother to look up at all. Her big thing is just that she's not really wanting to eat, and that could just be because she's full.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully she starts feeling better. As far as like gaming stuff, not really been doing a whole lot of that for obvious reasons. Hopefully this weekend I can do they have the Digimon regional championship. I would like to attend, but it also depends on Luna. Obviously if she's doing fine, that will be very good to know when I'm taking an hour trip out of town. But yeah, that's all I got. Just worried about my kid.
Your kid?
My kitty.
Ah. Like,
Small creature that you have responsibility for.
Yes.
right, but anyone who refers to their pets as their kids always unnerves me a bit. Because I'm like, no, they're not. They're not. Human children.
I guess that's fair.
Anyway, Galax, it'd be your turn. So, and you're coming to us from a different location than usual.
Yes, I am coming to you from, well, it was actually kind of cloudy before the sun went down Martha's Vineyard because for the first time, my grandfather had a house down here and we still have it in the family. He died a few months ago
Hmm.
or end of last year or something, which, yeah, a few months ago. And now, because they wanted to wait for the weather to be good to have his memorial service. So that has been scheduled for this coming weekend, and we have, some stuff to do before then and some stuff to do afterwards. Plus, it's a nice place to come to. So my parents come down here every summer for like 2 weeks, and I used to go with them, but it's harder to do that because I didn't have 2 weeks worth of vacation. But this is only 1 week, and most of it's going to be down as bereavement time. So I was able to make this trip, and hopefully I'll be able to get by okay away from home. I have my new laptop that was prerequisite for having the trip because I want a good computer. Because I still want to be able to like watch videos and stuff,
Right.
and I don't like doing that on a phone. So it seems to be working pretty well so far. The only real glitch is that this one doesn't seem to support multiple audio outputs at the same time, which is slightly tricky because normally that's how I do streams like this.
Hmm.
And like, if you get something with its own internal DAC, audio DAC, it will solve that problem.
Now, what would that be?
Something with like a USB, like wireless, like my headset. It has a USB dongle that plugs in that gives it its own DAC, so Windows sees it as a separate audio device and doesn't
Well,
put
they
it.
are. So when I go to the the volume mixer, and go to output devices, it does have speakers, Logitech USB headset, speakers, Realtek audio, which is the laptop speakers,
Mhm.
and XV2275K NVIDIA high definition audio, which is the audio for the monitor I have it plugged into.
Mhm. That's weird.
But it can only do one of them at a time. It was, or specifically, the thing that was working was I was changing the volume output thing to one of the other things. But then when I went into Discord and changed it to a different thing, it wasn't working. I don't know,
Weird.
maybe it just needs to like reset or something for the difference to stick, but we'll see.
Yeah. It's
It's
always
it's
something.
working. It's just not optimal. I mean, the speakers for the computer are kind of bad too,
Mm,
or for both the computer and the monitor have not amazing speakers, which is why I use a headset.
same.
But yeah, That is the main thing that's up with me.
All right. I suppose it's my go. Oh God. Let's see. It's not so much what's up with me, it's up with members of my family and the drama that gets drawn to them. Jeez.
Hmm.
I'm like, well, it's because this past Saturday was kind of a series of rollicking revelations.
Good,
Let's see.
bad, or
Bad.
ooh?
Yeah. Because my mom got her uh debit card compromised again.
Jeez.
Like, yeah, twice in 4 months. Like, first time around, like someone out in like California was um doing one of the slow drains.
Yeah.
Like a little here, a little there. And they'll never notice until they do. That
Until the
apparently went
fraud
on for him.
detection gets tripped, and then oh fuck.
Yeah. No, apparently she finally noticed that time. Like 2 months that went on for.
Fuck.
Yeah. And this time, like somebody tried to do something at Walmart for nearly $100, and fraud prevention got tripped on that. See, that's like fraud detection tends to get tripped either on very large charges or very weird charges. I've
Yeah, like
had
the
both.
first time I went to the now local game store when I bought a box, I got a phone call from the bank.
Yeah, that
And that
happened
was
to me when I
mostly
bought.
because that was mostly because I was out of state when this happened. So
Right. Right. This happened to me when I bought some games off of GOG because they're fucking registered in Cyprus. And my bank didn't know what to make of that at first.
Right.
And one time they called me when I had finished food shopping. Like I'm like, no, I'm it was routine stuff.
Yeah.
Like but the big revelation that happened on Sunday is my brother's ex-wife is now pregnant again. Like, and that's a whole dramatic reading of its own, let's say. Not so, not so much the kid himself, but more the fact that the would-be mother is going to be 42 years old and has extensive back problems.
Ooh.
So yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff here, like, but just rather not get into it. For fairly understandable reasons.
Yeah.
Basically, it comes down to the concern about the kid.
Fair enough.
From his vantage point. Like, on the flip side, had a pretty decent Mother's Day. Went to the local Greek restaurant, or I guess it's technically a chain, but it's like Greek owned and operated. Um, had a meal that was more carby than usual, which wasn't a fan of, but it's like it's also how often do I eat Greek food? Not often.
Yeah,
So,
I don't even think we have any Greek restaurants here.
Now, point is, I think my carb allowance is going to be fine for the day, week, whatever.
Yeah, just go take an extra jog around the neighborhood. It's fine.
Well, in those cases, I'll take an extra metformin.
Yeah.
Like, or an extra glipizide tablet. That seems to do the job. Like, anyway, and let's see. Today, my mother got the first of 3 heart tests. She's got I want to say the EKG, It's
Mm.
when they hook up a device to your chest and
Yeah.
monitor your vitals for 24 hours.
Yeah, I've
So,
had that done.
yeah, I had that done a couple years ago myself when, we had the whole hospital episode back in 22. Like, but tomorrow she turns that in, and apparently she's also got her stress test.
Oh, that's gonna be
Um,
fun.
yes. Now apparently, the office policy is, or what they recommend is that another person not be there because of how long these tests can be.
Mm.
But also, like if she is like, this is she's going to be put on a treadmill and exercise bike. So
Right.
she's also had to come up with an elaborate scheme to get back her car in case um she's too tired to drive,
Yeah.
which kind of scares me because she had it all mapped out beforehand. Like, but putting that aside, uh, the I suppose main event is next Monday when she gets the echocardiogram.
Mm.
Um, and then like at the end of the month she'll get the test results. So,
Mm.
hopefully good results here.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, it's not that my life has been stressful. It's more the people related to me are going through stressful things that indirectly affect me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um. Anyway, in terms of gaming, uh, bounced around a few titles. Tried out Wrath, Aeon of Ruin. I like it. About the same as Graven. Um. Like I'll be honest, I don't really like FPS games, boomer shooters with limited save systems. I know I could have turned that off in Wrath, Aeon of Souls or
That's an
whatever.
interesting thought because
Mm.
boomer shooters are an older format, and
Mm.
limited save systems is theoretically, or you might think of it as a limitation of older games.
Yeah, but when you
But
do
the
it wrong,
original boomer shooters very much had save anywhere functionality.
Yeah, but when you do it wrong, you become Daikatana.
Right. No, I'm saying is that it doesn't apply in this case.
Yeah, but the big problem with Wrath was it's just fucking too much. Too many enemies. The levels are too fucking long. Just like about the end of the second level, I was just exhausted because the level had like 300 enemies and took an hour and a half to complete. That is too fucking long for a boomer shooter. Like that is like that. This is something that you would say for a hidden level, not the
Mm-hmm.
regular. Maybe it's an age thing or whatever, but I just found it a bit relentless and monotonous. Whatever. Um, Replayed Fez a bit. Uh, still think it's a brilliant game whose extra puzzles are bullshit.
Mm.
Yeah. But I decided to land on Oblivion, the original, because I've never played the original Oblivion, and everyone's playing the remake. I'm like, look, I don't have to spend $40 on the remake when I have the original here. And here's the thing: the original, the remake plays like the remake, and the remake's going through some problems right now.
Those fucking faces.
More the stuttering, the hitching, and the bad frame
Yeah.
rate. I'm like, it's almost like it's a Bethesda game that just launched.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah, yeah, Bethesda's always been bad at this.
It's almost like they need the community to fix their games for them.
even that it takes a while. Like, but like you don't want to buy a Bethesda game at launch ever. Like,
And
wait a few
ideally,
months.
don't get it on console unless it's much, much later.
Oh God, I've seen the Digital Foundry videos. Like, I mean, I don't have any mods installed for this, but that's mainly because, once again, first time out. I don't
Yeah.
do it's like I don't, like, unless it's something like Thief Deadly Shadows, where mods really do enhance the experience, or it's like I didn't do that for Fallout 3 first time I played, even though yes, it's got one of the worst openings ever seen in video gaming. No.
I can't play my copy of Fallout 3 anymore because fucking games for Windows is broken.
Anyway, I could go on, but we should probably move forward to our main event. So yeah, once again, we had a guest who bailed on us, or didn't respond to fucking emails I sent. Don't understand why this happens. Like, you agreed to a thing, and you just give us the fucking cold treatment. But whatever. And so it's time for another reactions video. And this time around, we're doing something a bit, longer, because MSP isn't happening this week. We have space to showcase something that's 43 minutes long,
Indeed.
which is something that would,
That's a beefy one.
yeah, that's something I didn't really want to try when we're on a limited recording block here of about an hour and a half at most. Yeah. Anyway, so what we have set up here today is a staple of my childhood, the Game Player's Game Tape. And this one is going to specifically take a look at Ultra Game. The Konami Shell Corporation. Yeah. I hope everyone here is updated on who Ultra Games is. But if you're not, short version is Nintendo's licensing very restrictive. Companies buy or create new labels to get around that. Hence, we get things like Ultra Games here. And we're going to take.
They were trying to prevent flooding the market by only allowing a company to release a certain number of games per year, which is totally workaroundable by saying, "Oh no, that wasn't me. That was my subsidiary."
Right.
Also, we get stuff like Tengen, but that's an entirely different episode there.
Yeah, Tengen, Tengen's a bit different, but now what the Game Player's Game Tape is, okay, first of all, Game Players was a magazine, one of the more popular publications of the 90s, probably a bit behind, say, Game Pro or EGM, but probably more well known than, say, Die Hard Game Fan. It's kind of hard to place where it was in terms of sales because they don't have access to that. But the point is, around the time of their inception, because this is really early in the Game Players timeline, they put out these things called the Game Players Game Tapes, which were essentially, I guess to put in modern terms, YouTube guides, but on VHS. Like, it's really forward thinking stuff for 1989. Now, I didn't own these, but I rented them all the time from the local Blockbuster. They had several volumes of them, including this one. And we're going to be taking a look at what I'd like to call the two sides of Ultra Game. The Konami side and the PC port side. But we'll let the narrator introduce us to tonight's games. Also, we got the chinchiest music possible for this.
Oh god,
course.
Signal ABC Video.
Welcome to the official Ultra game tape. You'll see how to beat the Ninja Turtles.
Of course.
Great techniques for winning in Metal Gear. Hot
Metal
tips to
Gear.
improve your scores in Skate or Die.
Yeah.
And the path to victory in Defender of the Crown.
I get to keep my promise from last week.
This game player's strategy tape is full of hints, tips, and playing strategies. To get the
We
most
had to
from
explain
tape,
this to the audiences of
suggest you first read the
1989
manual
because,
that comes with
once
the
again,
program,
this is
and also have
fairly
some experience
unprecedented.
playing the game.
Mm.
fairly, not completely.
Editors and game players at
But I
Game
can't
Players
find a complete
Magazine.
copy of the Vestron videos from the early 80s yet. And of course, we would start things with arguably Ultra's
Ninja
biggest
Turtle
game,
has different talents.
Teenage Mutant Ninja
Once
Turtles.
you understand their strengths and weaknesses, you'll know better how and when to use them.
It's either that or Metal
For
Gear.
example, has a good striking
Yeah.
range with his nunchucks, but isn't as good as his friends in other areas.
That's putting it
Raphael is
mildly.
also limited in a different way. He's excellent at his
Look,
He's
you-
limited
you-
mentally.
as well as
Wait, no,
flying
hold
ones.
on.
He's the fastest Ninja Turtle, but he's weak against larger foes. Leonardo
There's
has
a
the
whole
second
system
longest reach and is quick
here.
with his katana blade. He'll be the ninja to use in many
Like,
areas.
Leonardo gets more
For
useful
sheer
the
turtle
lower his
power,
health
you should look
goes
elsewhere.
down.
Mm.
But that's one of those
Despite the fact
invisible
he's the
systems that
slowest
they
of the
don't
four,
tell you.
Donatello's raw strength
And of course,
quality make him
Donatello.
your most
You know,
prized player.
aka
Plus, he's
the turtle
really
you're going to be
good with his
using the
bow
most because of range.
Avoid these soldiers by climbing down the manhole.
Dig our freeze frame technology.
Oh, I thought the video broke.
Nope.
Most
You
of
kinda
the
get-
sewer is a great place to use Raphael.
Yeah,
Watch
I will
him
say
perform
you're
some
going to see
impressive
fancier
controls.
editing tricks than you get in your usual YouTube video because it's got wipes.
Do we get the star wipe?
You're about
Sadly,
to
I
meet
don't think we
Rocksteady.
do. We do,
He's
but
part
you know, we get
gangster, part
both
kid.
horizontal
Not,
and
not,
vertical.
not in the pay range for Star
Prepare for the
Wars.
fight by bringing in your toughest turtle, Donatello.
Also, they're not featuring a Star Wars
As soon as you
game
defeat
here.
Rocksteady, Bebop will take off with April. Follow them.
It is kind of a minor miracle that Bebop and Rocksteady showed up here, and I'm not even
Oh.
joking about that.
Mm.
Yeah, because remember, those two were created for the TV show.
You don't need to
So
rank
they
No,
don't show-
they were completely
You can go
created
past
for.
the
I,
first
I knew they were,
but don't
or I
ignore
assumed
the
they were
next.
more
There's pizza
recurring.
down here,
but-
and you can get
No,
it again and again.
like I believe they were in
Reward your
fact,
turtles
yes,
this way.
created for the TV show,
Rescue April
which is
by
why they
bringing
don't
in
show up in
Donatello
every
against Bebop.
adaptation
Give him a
of
good thrashing
you know,
with
the
bow
Teenage
staff.
Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like, you know, they're not in the original comics. They're not in the movies. They're not in the 2003 series.
Inside the
I
dam
think
in
they
Yosemite,
eventually
the
show up in the
separating
2012
you from a life-replenishing
program. You know, the point is, they're a lot more limited in
Up ahead is a
Turtles
risky
media than you
jump.
think.
If you don't make
So,
it, you'll
kudos
have to
for
retrace
Konami
your
to
steps.
have them, which establishes a direct connection to the TV program.
Oh, this
And we're already
You
bullshit.
need two fully energized ninjas before beginning your underwater mission. The Foot Clan has planted bombs underneath the dam, and your job is to find and disarm the explosives.
I like his
Swim
dramatic
clear of the
reading
electrical
voice.
currents, and don't get pulled down into the seaweed.
Also, you can tell he didn't actually have to play this level because he's not swearing in rage.
We also do not get to see his 1,000-yard stare.
It's easy to get caught in this trap, but if you pay attention to its
No,
movements,
no.
you'll swim out of the
You'd
danger
probably get the
zone.
angry eyes of doom.
Switch turtles if you need to, but make sure you have a lot of energy before swimming through.
Fuck,
these
they
abyssal
even got a
floods.
hit
Rushing
during that.
them
That's
really
hilarious.
drains your energy.
Here's the thing, they're not doing perfect run-throughs.
To disarm
I
the
know,
last
it's
bomb,
so-
use the same
The
techniques as
hilarity of,
before.
you know,
Remember to watch the ocean
that.
current,
No.
plant life, and the
They're giving you
electrical
tips and
currents.
tricks. They're not doing, like, expert runs. Like,
Mhm.
that shit probably exists around this time, but, you know...
Welcome to the third stage.
that's on somebody's
Not-
private
It's the only
VHS,
way
not
to
something that's
travel,
being
and the
mailed out
only way to
for
blast through the
kids,
roadblocks.
essentially.
Yeah, like we're this is forward thinking, but not that forward thinking.
Fair. Oh, that screen flicker.
Yeah, that's kind of
Blowing
a
up
like
roadblocks requires missiles.
kind of a
Here's
feature of
where
the
you-
NES.
Yeah, that's a feature.
Yeah.
A feature
I mean,
you
the
call it that.
NES,
Levels
the
aren't
NES
refilled
was
between stages,
pushed to
so
its
pizzas
limits.
are more important than ever.
And here's the thing: this is one of the this is one of the milder instances of screen flickering when it comes to the
You don't
turtles.
have time
Oh
to
God,
explore every
Manhattan
building in New
Project.
York, so let's
Ooh,
look at the
flickering
really
for
important
days.
ones.
The screen flicker is because like you're only supposed to have like what two or three sprites on the same line.
It's something like that, and also it's a memory
Don't waste
saving
your
trick.
time in this room. Rescuing a captured turtle.
In fact,
is
we're not going to
easy.
even waste
You just need to know where to look
movement
for.
on that place.
Follow
It's so
us.
useless. And they clearly hadn't quite figured out pacing in these videos.
Right.
Because we got quite a bit of dead air.
Dead air.
Yeah, Mike, come on, my guy, say
You've
something.
performed
I
your
was like,
good deed
cough,
for the day.
something. Make
And
sure
now
the
it's time
audience
to
knows
make
you're still
tracks to
breathing,
the end of
bro.
level 3. While you're moving, seek and destroy all enemy tanks. Your best move is to save your missiles.
Some
by
tips and
using
tricks are better
bullets,
than
but you
others.
don't want to waste ammo either. Shoot one bullet, wait a couple of seconds, then fire your second shot.
Which is actually good advice. You know.
For life, too. I mean, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Is this where you just start the funky groove hour?
Trail
Possibly.
behind this missile and let it clear
Oh.
a path for you.
That's not how that
I mean-
works.
I mean, granted, the overworld areas are kind of boring to talk about and play through.
Mhm.
At least at this stage, literally. Like, don't worry, we'll see more of the later levels.
Here's your final destination for this level.
I like how he's trying to make that sound
There's a lot of jumping to do.
dramatic
with
or
this.
intimidating
Be
or
careful.
something,
If
and
you jump too
it's
high,
just
you
a
may hit your head
building.
and fall into the river. Lightly tap the A button on your controller, or better yet, use.
Once
the
again, this is
controller for
actually
rapid
really
fire
important
settings.
advice, especially for this fucking game, because yeah,
This fire freak is dangerous, but you don't need to.
this is
keep
probably
stay where
the
you are
other
and let it
most
do the
infamous
job for you.
moment of bullshit.
Here's a full pizza that
in this game,
recharges you and
the
returns
fucking
each time you come
jumps.
back. Ninja Turtles, energize!
The Ninja Turtles have never energized.
You're about to face your greatest challenge so
well, there was
far,
that one
Mecha
anime.
Turtle. Begin with Donatello and tag team to another ninja when his energy starts dropping. Use
Also,
throwing weapons
we
if you
forgot
can.
to unpause the game, so just take our word.
I was
That
about
stuff
to
is
say,
happening.
Jesus, guys.
Waiting for the last manhole will move you farther along
Yeah,
in your
gotta
mission.
admit, this is the
Also
only
be
way
in
I saw
position to
like level
rescue a
4
captured turtle.
of the Turtles back in the
Now, take
day.
number 15.
Before the benefit of save states.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess we
Manhole
I guess we
number
should
16
mention a bit
is your
about the
last chance to
enemy
gain
roster
energy
here,
before
because
battling the
the
boss
fuck
of
is
level
this?
4. Mr.
I don't know.
will
I
see
know
you
that
to
this
the door.
includes many familiar Turtles enemies, but clearly it also has
Big Mouser
some
shoots
kind of
lasers
weird
from his
balloon
eyes.
thing.
Stay
Yeah.
between his feet and
Like,
But,
I
like-
assume there were
slash
normal-sized mouse. Okay, it spits out
Aim for the
normal-sized
globe in the
Mousers.
center of his
I mean,
throat.
having a Mauser here isn't unusual, even a big one. Like,
Yeah.
like this is something that could have plausibly happened in the TV series. I think people kind of forget how fucking stupid the original Turtle series was, especially as it went on. Oh. Gotta admit, not much of a
You're
boss.
at the Shredder's base, so you must move
I
quickly and
mean,
carefully.
Back
Watch
in the
out for the
day,
guards and
probably
their
was.
spotlights.
Eh,
If
any
you
boss
know
where you
to
can
sit in the middle, Like, your first
Yeah.
couple times through, you probably wouldn't have realized you could just sit in the middle.
Possibly, but that feels like something that could be easy enough
Take the
to
lower path to
figure
rescue
out.
captured turtles.
Oh, yeah, you'd figure it out, just probably not on your first or even maybe second run-through of it.
Hmm. Functionally one up there.
Hmm. Is that the turtle and a half shell?
Boomerangs come in handy throughout the game. Down here,
Ordered.
you can get the whole squad 99 boomerangs.
Funny because I don't think any of them are actually in a half shell. They do all have plastrons.
Hmm.
The Technodrome is in a different location each time you play. Explore each
Once
area
again,
carefully. That's the only way to find
a
it.
word of supremely useful advice, because yeah, the
The enemies
Technodrome
in the underground cavern are
spawns
especially
kind of
strong.
randomly.
So strong you shouldn't fight
Also,
them.
I would like to point out
Get
that
out
this
of their
game
range,
predated
however, it's
Sonic the
safe to
Hedgehog by a
attack
good 2 years. So if anything, Mr. Needlemouse ripped the turtles off. Besides, that's more a porcupine than a hedgehog.
I don't know what the fuck that is, other than
Maybe
terrifying.
in the Echidna.
The
Maybe in the
Technodrome
Echidna?
guard watches
I don't
over
know. Like I said,
everything,
I don't know what
including
the fuck half
you.
these
Wait for its
enemies
electrical
are.
field to disappear, then take
Like,
out its
I think
guns.
Konami
To
just
mute
cleaned them up.
something.
You'll want to bash in the
Yeah,
hatch
Konami
to
just
keep
came
more
up with
soldiers from coming
some of
out.
these things
Find
in
the
a
game through the
fevered
Iclops
haze.
radar, but make sure it doesn't touch you. That means instant death.
The power of video games. Like, even the television series, you would never have the turtles
Donatello
directly
is more than a
fighting
turtle.
against the
He's your
Technodrome.
ticket out of here.
For one thing, it's
All
too
costs,
big.
keep him alive
Right.
and as energized
But in
as
video
possible.
game, that makes sense
That's like
somehow.
Technodrome Junior.
Right.
Your encounter with the Technodrome Guardian took its toll. Luckily, you can beef up your energy supply with the nearby
It's just a
pizza.
Technodrome, my dude.
There's another pizza as you travel farther into the maze. And stay away from these steps. Take a safer route. After taking
Once
out the
again,
wall
kudos
cannon,
for not being
reward yourself
useless,
by claiming the
videotape.
second pizza.
Because these are, it's actually giving you some good tips and tricks for the end game stuff.
Oh god, that
I
flickered.
think I had to leave to go get a drink. That I missed their hot tips and
Your
tricks
course
for
is clear.
not fucking
Destroy
dying
the
to
wall
electric
cannon.
seaweed.
Become Mr. Invincibility.
Yeah.
We-
The door.
Yeah, right now we're getting through the end game where those fucking
Yeah.
jetpack motherfuckers are.
hmm
Duck under
You,
these
you hear a
layers
lot less
and
complaining
make a
about them
run for it.
because, how many people got to level 6?
Attack the soldiers
Not many.
with your boomerangs. Warning, don't scroll the screen until you're sure all the soldiers are dead.
Maybe the most useful advice given in this segment.
Advance the screen slowly when you get to
And I'm
this
not
narrow
joking, these
corridor.
assholes can
You
go
see
die in a
laser soldier
fire.
duck and
or
double
die
jump
with
until he goes
boomerangs.
away.
Yes,
Don't
it
mess
were.
with him, and he won't mess with you.
Live and let live. Very sporting for an NES enemy flunky.
Use scrolls, boomerangs, and whatever else you can throw.
I mean, we're almost at the end, so use it or lose it. Which is easier said than done. I might need this.
Finally, you meet the Shredder.
You're on the last
Scrolls
fucking
are most effective
boss!
against him, but Donatella's bow staff will work too. And your odds are good. There's only one of him, but 4 of you.
Assuming none of you were already dead.
Right. He does show you how to fight the Shredder. Like, who is...
I'm the
And why-
creator of Ultra Games for Nintendo.
Oh, God.
Where you're a commander searching for deadly weapons.
Oh, right.
Defender of
Hi, night terrors.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna be seeing him in my dreams tonight. Fuck.
Yep. Somebody thought this was a good way to sell video games. Question their sanity.
Remember, I'm never farther than your TV.
And they even leaned into it. Fuck you.
Hold on, I need to go
Don't acknowledge the creepiness.
pump some buckshot into a CRT. Be right back.
Early in the game, wait for these guards to fall asleep. Then you can sneak past them. At first, your energy is low, so avoid fighting. A couple of shots and you're dead. Go down the middle to get by the dogs. The guard can't see you when his back is turned. Get the binoculars, then move down screen from the truck. He'll miss. The first card. You can get several rations without leaving the truck and getting shot at. Just put on your transmitter, then take it off. Each time you do,
Which
there will be
is-
more rations or ammo to
I forget
take.
if this was a bug or not in the NES Metal Gear.
It
Like,
looks
I
like
know
a
it's
bug.
something like, or if it was like something with the
cameras can't spot you when
programming,
you're in the
like
shadows
it's
here.
something that's not supposed to be there.
Are you talking
If
about
you see clouds
the
of smoke,
trucks that go
use your
backwards?
gas mask.
No, the respawning items and stuff.
Oh, right, yeah. Sorry, I was distracted slightly.
Card number 2. Be careful in a place that doesn't have much stuff, because there might be a pitfall. If you see one, move back fast.
It's all fairly
Surrender
straightforward.
in this truck by entering and waiting until the guard captures you. Punch a hole in the wall to escape the cell and reach Gray Fox.
I gotta wonder if the narrator here ever double looked at some of the sentences he had to say. You know, like
I don't
punch
think he
a
cares as long as
wall.
the check's cleared.
Ah, yes, the
Killing
shotgun.
the shotgunner is easy. If you can't get next to him to shoot him, use remote
Metal
control
Gear would
missiles.
get more
Any
creative
weapon will
with its
work.
bosses later on. The shotgunner was not their finest moment
Card
of
number
inspiration.
You can't get onto the roof of building number 1 until you get this bomb blast suit here in building number 4.
The fuck is a bomb blast suit anyway?
Yes.
It's like that refrigerator
Card
in
number
Indiana
4 is
Jones
in this
and
truck.
the Crystal Skulls.
Hmm.
Here's the back door to building 1.
Going in the back way.
Watch it. Yeah. Hi, we had to
It's the
change
twin
this boss
shot.
because the
Use
NES
your
couldn't
grenade
handle a
launcher.
hind D.
Go past their fire all the way to the right and take cover behind the wall. Fire away and get both of them.
It's about as well thought out as the hind D boss in the original Metal Gear. Seriously, both iterations of this kind of are trash.
When you face Machine Gun Kid, use remote control missiles. That way you can hide behind walls.
Ah, cowardice.
Okay, but you're using it wrong.
Right.
You're
Use
supposed to
those
stay
remote
behind the
control
wall and
missiles
shoot it
to knock out
sideways
the
and then
heat
turn
panels,
out.
too.
Admittedly, the way he did it was easier.
Mhm. Look, sometimes you like clearly the game players don't give a shit about perfect runs or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Got these fucking things. Surprisingly
Don't
annoying.
let the rollers touch you. You'll die at once. Here's a trick. Just switch to another screen and the roller will back off. To get to building number 2, you've got to beat the tank. And that takes
I think there's a
11
way to get
lines.
past this tank
Use a turbo fire controller
without
if you've
blowing it up. But
Turbo
You
fire
can drop 3
controller.
mines at a time. And don't touch the tank.
I think that's the appropriate tone you should be uttering when you say, "Don't touch the tank."
Use the mine detector you got from the rooftop of Building 1 so you can see where the mines are. To
You
enter
don't wanna
Building
stand
2,
on
you
them?
don't need a pass, but you do need the enemy uniform you got in Building 4. Ready the grenade before you face the bull tank and use turbo fire if you can.
Look, it's acknowledging that the NES advantage exists, which I used.
Sneak by the lasers using the
Just be glad that they're
infrared
not
goggles you
using the
got from
slow-mo
second
feature.
floor of Building 1.
There are videos where this occurs.
You need card 5 to get into most doors on the second floor of Building 2. Here on the roof of Building 2 is where you get card 5. Card number 6.
Okay. Now, kind of the problem with
Probably
Metal
the
Gear
hardest
here
thing to
is
figure out in Metal Gear
it's
is
a
the
bit
location of the
samey.
rocket launcher. Jennifer won't talk to just anybody. So after you have a rank of 4 stars, call her, and she will set up the grenade launcher in this room. Get out of the way. This isn't Dr. Petrovich here in Building 2.
I guess that was his suspenseful voice.
Position yourself so these Arnolds can't come at you. Then destroy
Oh.
them with the rocket launcher.
We use
It's the only thing that works.
use their
They'll
Japanese
leave
name
you
there.
card number 7.
Like, I don't think they were called the Arnolds. Maybe they
The
were.
compass is really
but,
hard to find.
You know, that
You
was a
have to
bit
have
too
rank of
close
4
to
stars. Then call
what the
Jennifer,
actual
and she'll set it
inspiration
up for
was
you.
later on. So I think they had that changed. The Arnold twins, which
The
are
fastest, easiest way to
molded
get to
after
Building 4 is
the
through
Terminator.
maze.
Right.
Start by going
why
all
they're
the way across the
robots.
screen twice.
Ah,
Then
yes.
go off the screen at the top on
When-
the far side.
Like when every other NES game seemed to have a Lost
Then
Woods
take a
section.
left.
By the way,
It's a nice programming trick to increase the amount of stuff the player has to go through without
Yeah.
You've got to rescue Dr.
Programming
By the way-
Petrovich
actual
before he'll
rules.
tell you anything about
Yeah.
Metal Gear.
By the way, this
Evan
bit
is
of
hidden in a
bullshit was
secret
not
room
in the
Building
NSX
4.
original. The Lost Words world,
Watch out
the
for
Lost
pitfall.
Woods part.
Punch a hole in the right wall. You can get to Building 5 through the pitfall zone, but don't even try. The maze is much easier. Go straight across the upper part of the screen
Once again,
twice.
sentences that you never thought you would hear. Don't go into the pitfall zone. The maze is much easier. Video games.
There's pitfalls.
Then left.
Yes. But the maze, very, is going to be more tedious.
There's a flashlight in this room, and if you punch the wall on the right with your iron glove, you'll see the fire trooper. You've got to use your iron glove and gas mask a lot here in Building 5.
I do remember.
You'll
It's
beat
kind
the
of
fire
annoying.
trooper if you stay close to the wall. The best weapon here is your machine gun.
I remember Nintendo Power explaining this in one of their tips and tricks, or no,
The
your
oxygen tank
questions
is here in
segment.
Building 3. You'll need it to swim through the deep water in Building 2. After you swim the
Okay,
water in
this is the
Building
kind of
2,
thing you
take on
edit,
Coward Duck.
folks.
Run up to him and just use your handgun. Or you could hit a prisoner. Coward Duck has card 8, but watch for the
Coward
pitfall
Duck.
in this room.
I'm still not sure if that's a Howard the Duck reference or not. Cheese it. See, nowadays,
It's
gamers
the
would
supercomputer.
shame you for using
You should
such
have already
tactics.
talked to Dr. Petrovich, or nothing you
We call
try
that a
will
damage
defeat him.
boost.
Plant 16 plastic explosives on the computer, then get out of there.
Oh yeah, we also forgot to put Metal Gear in our Metal Gear game. So here's a
For the
computer
graphics,
that
have a computer.
I'm like, allegedly it's because the NES couldn't handle Metal Gear, but Snake's Revenge exists and does have Metal Gear in it. Riveting. It is a better rendition of this theme though, with the NES sound chip. Narrator, context now.
If you survive long enough, you'll face a final foe. Use your rocket launchers against him, then take the door on the left.
Yeah, Big Boss was kind of brain dead in this
Forget, is that
battle.
great? Is that great fun? Oh, this is Big Boss. Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, wasn't Gray Fox
If you
in
like
these?
this game tape, you'll love Game Player's Pro Tip Hotline. Now you can hear the
See,
tips
that
you
kid
want
is
to
way
know
too excited
just
to be
by
talking
pushing a
on the
button on your
phone.
telephone.
To hear this tip again,
Don't
press 1.
call
For
this
another
number.
game
It
tip,
is
press 2.
probably a
For
phone
our
sex
traffic tips, press
hotline.
3.
That might be why this kid is
Each
smiling
week, our
like
Game
that.
Player's experts choose the best hints and tips for
He
3
got his
hot
way too much
games for the
enthusiasm
Nintendo
for
Entertainment
for
System.
getting a game tip,
Just dial and select which secrets you want to hear. Every week, we'll change
especially
the
at
games and the
125
hints. Try
a
it
minute.
today.
Or sorry, the first minute, 75 per minute. Skate or die.
If you sign
Oh,
up
So
for
now we
membership
can-
at Rodney Recluse's skateboard shop,
Yeah.
you can decide
Hey,
which
did
event
you ever want
want
to see
enter.
Rodney Dangerfield as a skate punk?
No.
But
If you choose compete,
here he
Ball,
is.
You'll be entered in everything: jam, joust, freestyle competition, high jump, and downhill racing. Let's take a tour of the game and learn a few tricks along the way.
Oh God, they've got title cards for
Here in the
this.
U-Zone competition, each contestant gets 5 tries from each side. Show off your skills with a variety of
So the
different
thing
tricks
about
here
Skate or
so you can
Die,
get the 9,000
it's a
point
terrible,
bonus.
terrible title with bad controls.
Oh, do they call it
But-
U-Zone?
I think they specifically game players are calling it the U Zone.
I was gonna say, bro, that's a half pipe.
Yeah. Do you hear this guy speak? Do you think he was ever hip with the
Notice the
kids?
small channel at the top left side.
I
Jump
guess
it with an
fair.
aerial, and you'll earn 2,300 points.
Anyway,
Also, when you do a
Anyway.
hand plant, try to hold it as long as you can. You'll get extra points.
provided you can get past the terrible controls.
If you're playing with a friend, you
I
can
still
try a
remember
trick
how
that will
bad
get you
Skate or
up
Die
really high.
controlled.
The first player turns on rapid
Kind of
fire,
impressive
or
that
keeps
way.
pressing the B button very
I'm
fast.
still not sure which
At the
is
same time, move the
shittier,
joystick
this
back and forth
TNC
fast.
or
the player does the same thing.
the
Then, when
various
you're as
Epics
high as you can
games.
get, press the A button to score. To gain time on the downhill, try skating right across
Surprise!
the grass.
It's a mini game collection. Once again, like most skating titles were for some reason.
Then be
in
sure to
the
duck when you
80s.
go through the
It's hard to
pipe.
give them a longer plot.
Hmm.
Jump on the building.
Also, the title is a direct reference slash
And jump
stab
rocks at
towards
the end.
the game 720 in the arcades, which had the phrase "skate or die" in
When you
it.
try for
Before
extra points on the downhill,
the
like
skater
many
would say
tricks,
that
be sure you
right
land
before a
right
swarm
before
of
you
deadly
fall.
bees came to kill him. I do not know why this happens.
Reasons.
Yes. Anyway, Anyway, so yeah, this represents Ultra's other side. Because Skater Die clearly does not come from Konami. It comes from Electronic Arts, and it was originally a Commodore 64 game, among other computer platforms. And this was before EA themselves made games for consoles. In fact, I believe their very first console game was Skater Die 2. Yeah, watching the downhill jam here is about as exciting as playing it. Maybe more so because, once again, you're not struggling
for a complete rotation during the jump. If you practice enough, you might learn to jump over the water. It's really hard to do, but you get lots of points for it.
Go off.
Good old shortcuts.
The jam.
You can cut through the puddle in the jam. Collect cans for points. Jump the speed bump. There's a secret path.
Yeah, once again, the gameplay doesn't really convey how awkward and gangly
and jumping on the police car gives you
this was. Points. Especially doing things like very finicky jumping on that car.
Yeah. Some of these games
to capture your opponent
on the NES and stuff had really questionable
then do a rail slide and
control responsivity.
Or in the case of the pool joust here, hit detection. You can see it. This one you can see in the footage.
Mm-hmm.
You can also use the hanging on the edge trick to fake out your opponent when he has the stick.
Yeah, gotta wonder. I don't think this was a real thing, pool jousting.
Here's Rodney again. Move your cursor around the screen. Put it on his mouth and he'll give you some hints. Put it on the sign-in pad in the lower left to see all the scores.
Yeah, we're not that. We're still in the arcade era, so scores still matter somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to figure out what Rodney's
And to be
trying
fair,
to
it does matter if
no
it does matter a bit more if
for
it's
example,
in
when
a
he says
public
combo
place where
moves,
anyone can
score
see it
big,
and compete
he
for
means
it.
that you can get a
Right.
big bonus in the freestyle
Which
event when you show off
isn't
a combination of tricks.
Skater Die for the NES. I mean, clearly they had. Oh God, this commercial.
It's Freedom Stick. It's the #1 bet.
Hey, do you want to hear the whitest rap ever?
I mean, I guess arcade sticks / fight sticks have always been a decent alternate controller option.
That's not what I'm talking about. Just this song. Someone
I know
got
I'm
paid
carefully
to
not
make.
commenting on the music.
I am. Jesus
If you
Christ!
enjoyed this great game tape, you'll really enjoy Game Players magazine. Every exciting issue is packed full of hints, tips, and playing strategies, just like the ones on this game tape. You can order a Dream subscription to both Game Player's Guide to
Dream
Nintendo
subscription.
Games and Game Players magazine.
Tone it down there.
A total of 18 awesome issues today for only $39.95.
For Nintendo players.
Don't miss another issue. If you want to play to win, call now.
Which is a bit odd.
Remember,
I suppose it's because how Nintendo focused this tape is, but they did cover like TG16 and Sega Genesis stuff. Well, I distinctly remember reading an old issue of this and seeing a review of Ghouls and Ghosts, the Genesis. Ah, there it is, Defender of the Crown.
Where's my Gen at?
At the beginning of Defender of the Crown,
see,
be selecting the character
here you can't hide Defender of the Crown because this is the NES version. So you don't have your fancy Amiga graphics to showcase how well the Amiga can do graphics. So all you have left is your shitty fucking gameplay.
Tempted to choose Wulfric the Wild because of his excellent jousting skills. Remember, however, that he's not much of a leader or swordsman. Pass over Wolfric
Okay.
the Wild for a better all-round character.
Hint: these stats don't matter all that
Cedric of
much
Brotherwood, on the other hand,
because
is
this
gifted
isn't
in
a
the
strategy
areas Wolfric
game.
is not. He
That's a
has considerable
lie.
talents, but
A
not
dirty,
the right
filthy
combination.
lie. This is a
The man
mini
who
game
can best
collection
lead you to
dressed
the
up
crown
as a
is
strategy
Wilfred of
game.
Ivanhoe, who isn't strong in any one skill, but can probably handle any situation you encounter.
You know, jack of all trades,
Before
master of
beginning your
none,
quest for
allegedly.
power, play a few practice rounds to develop your skills. When doing this, use a character strong in the area you're working on. For example, be Wolfric the Wild to improve your jousting. Choose Geoffrey Longsword to practice sword fighting.
Jeffrey Longsword.
Read the map thoroughly to find out who owns each territory. Pay special attention to their strengths and weaknesses.
Yep.
You can increase your fame throughout the kingdom by winning the tournament.
Once again,
Passing your turn will earn you extra money, but Normans may move against you. Make sure you plan ahead. It costs 5 gold pieces to call a tournament. If you can't afford this, the computer
oh, you're
will let you know.
trying so hard to make this sound like an
It's
actual
important to make the
credible
best
strategy
possible
game.
decisions.
No, there's
Beginning
strategy
tournament,
elements
be
here
sure
and
to look
there, but
forward
it's a
to
mini
wanting
game
piece of
collection.
land if you lose.
It's always
Don't
been a
hand
mini
yourself
game
over to
collection.
attack.
Always
And
be a
don't
mini
start
game
challenging your
collection.
friends for land. They may not be your friends much longer.
I mean, I played strategy game sessions. Punching was involved.
To be a champion jouster, aim your lance at the bottom part of your opponent's shield. Don't worry about defending yourself, since there are no real defense
That looks
techniques
like the
for
bottom
this.
right.
When jousting, you want to hit your opponent, but not his horse. That mistake will cause you to be disgraced and barred from future tournaments.
Oh, is that all?
I mean, the Royals take their
At the
tournament
beginning, it's good to go
jousting
ahead and
rules
build
very
as much land
seriously
as possible. It raises your income and protects your
until the
castle from
French
attack.
king dies from getting a splinter in the eye. That's a
When your
true thing
mace
that
is at
actually
this
happened.
point, press the A button for maximum impact.
Yay. Yes, these are the sound effects
If
they
you're
went
able
with.
to rescue the beautiful maiden Rosalind, you'll unite the two kingdoms. You need to have at least one section of territory besides the land that holds your castle. You can wager your extra property at the tournament. With luck and skill, you'll win your enemy's land. You can gain more territory around your castle, or you can claim lands that separate you from choice properties. When buying an army, spend your money on catapults and soldiers. Castles and knights aren't much help and will probably just slow you down. Get at least 3 catapults. There are 2 ways to attack a castle. A siege means you're trying to take it over completely. A raid means sending a soldier into the castle to steal its gold. Check the load ammunition screen before starting a siege. You may discover that no one's guarding the enemy fort. Fire off your ammunition, and the castle will be yours. Sometimes, for
Riveting.
no apparent reason, the computer will plot against you. The results can be really awful.
Okay. Like,
Select the
gonna
read
break
map
that
option
down?
and point the arrow
No.
at your castle. This will let you see your status screen and keep you informed about the money you've collected and what size army you've assembled.
you can't actually do
Before
anything with
raiding
that
a
army
castle, stop by
because,
Sherwood Forest
once
and ask
again, you
Robin Hood to help
you
you.
solve all
He
your
only
territorial
agreed to do
disputes
it
with
3
jousting,
times, but his
apparently.
help is valuable.
Randomly,
Here's a
Robin
quick
Hood
guide
is
to better
here.
sword fighting.
He is a
I
man
don't
in
remember him.
tights.
Stab him once and take a
I
step
don't
back.
remember him ever being
Doing
connected
this,
to
and you'll get the point.
Ivanhoe.
Remember, you
Which is
can
what
find
this
out
is
who the
really
worst
based
swordsman
off of.
is by reading the map.
Hell, they had a character who was named Ivanhoe. And good God, this section looks really fucking awful compared to the Amiga.
Keep a watch on the Saxons. They are your allies, but you need to make sure they don't control too much territory. If they do, you'll live to regret it.
There's something vaguely racist about this commentary
If your
here.
castle
Yeah.
is
Well, I
attacked,
mean, the
defend
Saxons
it
were
with
an
a
actual
crossbow.
group.
Have a lot of
Right.
soldiers ready so your life meter will show full strength. Move from left to right.
Are we having fun yet?
With Robin's help, you're ready to attack a castle. Begin your siege by catapulting boulders into the castle wall. Next, shoot some diseases.
This is how
into
a
the
young me
castle.
learned about
Finally, use
about
Greek
germ
fire
warfare.
to finish the job. The best course of action here is to have as many catapults as possible and use the bombard command.
What are we looking at? Like, what is this Atari 2600 bullshit being waved in front of us? God,
Whenever you conquer a castle, hire more soldiers.
never a
to
good game,
protect
but
it.
the NES version is especially dire.
Once more, the
Indeed.
enemy is plotted against you. This time, it will cost you half your gold. To get a head start on your empire, go after the lord who has the most territory. When you
Empire.
seize his castle, you'll gain control of all his properties.
It's a bit overblown there. Like, you're just conquering England and Wales.
You need a healthy supply of soldiers in your castle and your army before you fight for your last castle. Catapults are important too. When you own most of the territories, challenge the other lords to tournaments. Beating them will give you even more land.
Are we
The
having
enemy
fun
has
yet?
been crushed. The
Yes.
crown is yours. So
See, they
ends
won.
the quest for the crown. Follow these
Yes.
game tips, and the kingdom.
This is
will
the
be
best way to
yours.
experience Defender of the Crown. Do not play it. It is not a good game. But especially do not play the NES version. It is an ill fit for that system.
It is a worse game.
Yes. And yeah, there's no outro for whatever reason. It just kind of ends. But yeah, so that was a look at Ultra Games. It's surprisingly varied, release pot
Magazines.
from Konami's shell hand.
Hmm.
Makes sense.
Though it shouldn't surprise you to learn that their most popular games were Teenage Ninja Turtles and Metal Gear. I mean, keep in mind, Metal Gear here sold well enough to get NES only sequel. Like, though, from what I remember, Skate or Die also did pretty good business as well.
Hmm.
Really was Defender of the Crown that
Look, skateboarding was cool, even if it wasn't a very good skateboarding game.
right. But the thing is, they were all awful.
Mhm.
Like, skateboarding hadn't quite been figured out until like Tony Hawk.
Yeah, I was about to say Tony Hawk is when we actually started getting decent skateboarding games.
But yeah, like Defender of the Crown. I think I've made my point about that thing clear.
Hmm.
Look,
Anyway.
good strategy RPGs take a certain amount of programming.
I mean, the NES has those to a certain point.
It has some good ones, but the good ones usually have some iffy control choices.
Well, it's not iffy control choices. It's just strategy games on an 8-bit processor is, always going to have some speed problems.
Actually, I should say control choices often awkward display choices.
Yeah.
Too, because there's only so much you can do with an 8-bit system
But
with that amount of
Koei
graphics.
But Koei was releasing games not only on the Famicom but the NES. Like, I wouldn't recommend playing Nobunaga's Ambition on the NES, but it was there.
Mhm.
And Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Which are more strategy games than this thing. Anyway, Petty, play us to the next segment when you can. All right, so welcome to the topic of discussion. So this week we are talking about Earthbound, aka Mother 2, in celebration of its 30th anniversary of its US release.
Now, Adam, if there's one thing I know about this game,
Mm-hmm.
it's that this game stinks.
Yes, one of the most infamous ad campaigns. So I know, like, there are people who try to defend that ad campaign, and look, I get it. Like, it's not the quote itself. This game stinks because
I mean, that doesn't help either. But yes, also making a intentionally unpleasant scratch and sniff mailer.
right. That's the
Also,
problem.
probably not the best idea.
Yeah, that's the bigger problem here. Like, it's not just that you went with this game stinks for whatever reason outside of, it's the 90s, edgy advertising. It's also knee deep in the play it loud era.
Yeah, toilet humor, gross, cool, all
Like,
that kind of stuff was pretty
that's not,
popular at the time. So yeah, they're selling the game with Master Barf and Master Belch as major enemies
yeah,
on some of its gross factor.
yeah, leaning it to gross out in 1995 isn't odd or unusual. Like, it's very, very 90s, but this game came out in the literal middle of the decade here in America. No, the problem was like making the game actually smell bad, or smell bad by proxy, because it's not just the scratch and sniff stickers that came with the player's guide. The
The
ads,
player's guide came with the game.
right, but the ads themselves, the print ads, they had the scratch and sniff junk in the ads. Like, I had
Yeah,
a
say what you
friend.
will. They definitely spent a decent amount of money on this ad campaign.
They committed
It's
to
just
the
why.
they committed to the bits.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's the problem, because like I had a friend who was a subscriber to Game Players of all things, to tie it into tonight, I guess. But he complained like, "Oh, I always know when I have when there's an Earthbound ad because the whole magazine smells like shit." You know, like, and Nintendo was surprised that this didn't take off.
I mean, it's a quirky game to start with.
Well, yeah, it's a quirky game, but they went way too quirky with the ad campaign. Like, the game,
Right. Well,
like,
no, that's
yeah,
what I mean. It's like, and
the ads were
they didn't even go with the same kind of quirky.
right. Well, once again, like, that quirkiness is embedded in the motherness of it. This game stinks. That's the North American ad campaign. Like, the Japanese ad campaign seemed to center around everybody celebrating at a McCafe for some reason.
Hmm.
But yeah, once again, it comes down to the print ads literally smelled like shit, or other unpleasant odors, and that was supposed to entice people to buy the game somehow. And yeah, it didn't work. But there were other factors working against Earthbound. Other people have made Kobe has mentioned about the mediocre overworld graphic. And yeah, like they're not, compared to, a good chunk of its contemporaries, it's not too impressive. What
There's a
is impressive?
reason. There is a reason
Yeah.
they shipped it with players' guides that charge an extra amount of money. There's a decent amount of stuff in here that would not be intuitive to a lot of people who were not familiar with full-on RPGs, which was not a huge segment of the market at the time.
And that gets into the, I think the biggest reason why Earthbound flopped. It's because RPGs just weren't a genre that did a lot of business on consoles around this time.
Yeah, Earthbound, like
Like,
half the stuff in Earthbound is a like winking reference to like Dragon Quest or Wizardry.
especially Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
And Dragon Quest
So if you're
is
not going to
certainly,
get those jokes, you're losing a lot.
well, here's like Dragon Quest wasn't an unknown factor here either. But it's here's the thing. Like Dragon Quest ended up being, a niche.
Mhm.
And not like far from the literal cultural phenomenon that Dragon Quest was in Japan, and Earthbound / Mother to a lesser extent. Like, and I will be bold in my proclamation here. Like, if we had gotten the original Earthbound, like the original Mother as Earthbound, we probably wouldn't have gotten Mother 2.
Yeah, Mother 1 is an even more archaic RPG in design.
Right, but it also retains the, hell, it established the very odd sensibilities of this
Yeah, no,
franchise.
it has all the same quirky humor that doesn't appeal to some people, but with even less quality of life.
And, people over here just didn't know what to make of this in the 90s. Like, yes, there was a certain segment of the game playing population that played, Earthbound and connected with it. Earthbound like was very much a game for me. Not to the extent that the Starmen go to. Dear God. Those guys quite frankly needed to tone it down a bit. Like, they never quite connected the dots that borderline harassment isn't going to get you the things that you want.
There was no borderline, though.
Like,
Mhm.
right. Kevin just popped up with some stuff. Right. He's going to be going to MomoCon. Like, well, we'll just have to soldier on
Yep.
there.
Is that this week or next week or what?
That's next week, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of what we have to juggle around with here because, Mac, once again, Mac's life decided to blow up in his face again.
Mm.
Anyway, getting back to what I was saying. Earthbound is still a game you either get or you don't. Like I've seen people today, like, they will call it very boring, very dull. Like, which obviously I don't agree with. Earthbound is one of my favorite games from my formative years of gaming. Right alongside Final Fantasy, 2, 3, 6, 4, and 6. Secret of Mana, and Chrono Trigger. I rather enjoyed Earthbound. I got Earthbound, but yeah, if you don't get Earthbound, it's not going to ease you. It's not going to ease you in. No matter how much tutorialization it gives, and there's quite a lot for a 16-bit RPG. I know Final Fantasy had its training rooms, but those were always optional.
Yeah, and they started doing that with what, like 4 or something?
Yeah.
And a lot of that is just to indicate you stuff that you could get mostly from the
Yeah.
instruction manual, but not always. Not everybody reads those.
Or you didn't
The thing that
always
I
get
remember
those
getting
if you
from
got
Final
the
Fantasy
game
VI's
secondhand.
thing was like, okay, so when people have colored outlines in battle, which one means what?
But my ultimate point here is it's a miracle that we got one Earthbound. One of the mother games called Earthbound. Because I don't think it really matters if we get the first mother game in 91 or if we get Earthbound as Mother 2 in 95. I just do not see this game doing well in the time of release over here.
It is kind of a shame we didn't get 3, but
3 is its own can of worms. I'm
Mhm.
like, that's what happens when you release a text-heavy RPG on the Game Boy Advance in 2006.
Mhm.
It was a dead system. But we're not talking about Mother 3.
I know.
Basically, Earthbound not succeeding is no surprise. And there is a lot of blame to go on the ad campaign, on the graphics, on the genre. But I would put number one with a bullet point is in its just downright strange everything. Like, you just did not see a game like this back then. Like, there is not another game like Earthbound, at least over here. Like, we really didn't start to get the quirkier side of Japan until like the PlayStation era, the PlayStation 2 era. When games got a lot cheaper to make and a lot cheaper to produce. So, there was a lot less of a risk to bring over, say, a Mr. Mosquito.
Yeah, you could print a
Or
game
even a
for
Parappa the Rapper.
You could print a game for $4 or $5 and then
still
sell
too
it for
quirky
80.
to get what is it, LSD? I think that's what that game is called.
Whatever it is, the LSD Dream Simulator or whatever.
Yeah, like a really quirky PlayStation 1 title that absolutely stayed in Japan. But you get my overall point, right? Like, to the point, I honestly, I would have been surprised if this game would ever have been a success in, say, 1995, or like any point up to, the advent of like the virtual console.
Honestly, if it hadn't gotten as big of a publicity thing as it did, and they hadn't put as much money into marketing as they did, it would have been an even more cult classic.
Like, credit where it's due. What to once again fly in the face of the cult of blue here. The happiest. Like Nintendo gave it an honest try.
Mhm.
Maybe not quite as extensively as their push for the original Dragon Warrior or Final Fantasy, but they still pushed Earthbound pretty hard. Like, and once again, it flopping is in line with everything else that was going on with RPG at the time. Because here's the thing, like Final Fantasy struggled over here to the point where Square Soft decided to team up with Nintendo to bring Super Mario RPG to the world in order to sell North Americans on the concept of an RPG. Let's stick Mario
Mhm.
in it. So, while it's unfortunate that Earthbound, wasn't the sales smash that, that The Legend of Zelda or, even Metroid was. Yes, I know Metroid is one of Nintendo's more niche series overall, but you got to understand, sales were different back then. You didn't have to sell 20 million to be in the bottom upper tier of Nintendo sales.
Mm.
But anyway, in terms of like, just the everything with Earthbound, there's just, there is so much to talk about there, and people have been talking about it for 30 years. But there's another question that's been running through conversation circles in more recent times about Earthbound, and that again has to do with its reputation. Not back in the day, but in the modern age. And that is, how influential is Earthbound / Mother to the modern day indie scene?
Significantly.
Looks over at Undertale in particular.
Yeah, like there have been arguments that like Earthbound is actually not an influential game, but it's like, yeah, here's the thing: Undertale was legitimately a Earthbound fan game at its
Mhm.
inception.
This isn't like conjecture on our part. Toby Fox actually said this on record.
Yeah,
And yeah, there's also a bunch of Homestuck and other things in there too, but
yeah,
it's still, yeah, it's that the a lot of that is just like the way that the battle system is set up and sort of the vibe. Undertale has, or rather, Earthbound, you can't argue that it doesn't have a vibe.
it
Where
has a
it's
few.
weird and a little bit dangerous, but most things, except for the really obnoxious neighbor kid, are mostly willing to just leave you alone if you... Okay, and the evil aliens.
Yeah, which is a big reason why Mother 3 is so divisive.
Mother 3 is a tragedy, like, thematically.
Well, yeah,
It's still a good game and interesting, but the
no,
plot
like,
is heavy.
well, yeah, Mother 3 is a very, it's an arguable masterpiece, but it's also like people who demand another Mother game / Earthbound do not understand the point of Mother 3. Full stop. It's like people who demand a Fantasy Star 5. The entire fucking point of this game is finality. And it bugs the shit out of me. Like, look,
Mhm.
I get that you love this series and wish for it to continue, but it's also get some fucking media literacy skills, please.
There is a bit of like, and then there is a like, and then something still existed afterwards, but it's with a heavy emphasis on being beyond the scope of this project. Like, we have said what we have to say.
Yes. You know, and yeah, getting back to Earthbound's graphics, you know, the thing is, Earthbound is one of the most technologically advanced Super Nintendo games to have ever been released.
Yeah, the overworld graphics and sprites are, I mean, it's still a pretty nicely done art style, but yeah, it's pretty plain. They have they use a lot of flat colors and simple outlines and shapes.
Mhm.
The battle graphics are not like that, which again is another way in which it is like Dragon Quest. And they also went all out with the scaling and rotating and transparencies on the psi attack effects.
Mhm. Yeah, there is so much movement going on in those battle backgrounds, and like, keep in mind, this is the era where nothing moved in RPGs, like, or very little.
Yeah, Dragon
Like, what?
Quest has cute monster art, and sometimes you get stuff for the spells, but it's mostly just like a static picture of a slime or a robot knight or something that flashes when you hit it.
Like, and Final Fantasy was making great innovations with character sprites for the heroes, but the enemies still famously were frozen.
Yeah, large and intricate, but they were static sprites.
Yeah, like, we didn't get movement in a mainline Final Fantasy until 7. Like, the
Because
closest we got was,
once you're in 3D, you can rig things, and then it's just as easy to have them move as it is to have them stand still.
right, and that may be why enemies in like PlayStation era Final Fantasy games never stop moving. Like,
Mhm.
but that's neither here nor there. Point is, RPGs in general are very static, and Earthbound just isn't. Like, comparatively speaking, like, and like, that had a knock-on effect though, because um those moving backgrounds, and there's a lot of them too. Like, that took up a lot, not just a lot of space, but was very complicated programming wise.
Mm.
It's why it took 5 years to build Mother 2, and it needed help from Satoru Iwata. Like, he was the programming genius who figured out how to make that shit work. Just another notch on his belt there. And Earthbound is also, the innovator of so many quality of life features that would make themselves known in the larger RPG space. Took some time, and it was like, maybe Nintendo patented some of these things, maybe they didn't. Like, not everything, like, having enemies on the not necessarily overworld because Earthbound doesn't have an overworld, but having enemies visible.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's particularly
Yeah.
well, not anachronistic because it was the time, but in Mother 1, it's just full-on random encounters, and the rate is not low.
No. Well, Earthbound has random battles. Like the monsters are still generated randomly. It's just you can see them now. Like it's Chrono Trigger that got rid of the concept of random battles. Chrono Trigger doesn't have any random battles. Every battle in that game is planned out. But Mother Earthbound, not only introduced the concept of displaying monsters on the battles ground, or whatever you want to call it, the dungeon, or the town, but also approaching. Like this is still something that I don't think I saw implemented in other games until we got much more a direct influence from Earthbound. That is, how you approach a monster. If you hit head on, which is going to be most encounters, honestly, you know you'll have a normal battle, but come in from the side or from the back, especially the back, you'll have the advantage. Maybe you'll even beat the enemy. Like if you're overpowered to a certain point, you just defeat the enemy.
Or they'll even just run away from you.
Well, they'll do both. Like they'll run away, and if you approach them, because usually they'll have their back to you, so you'll auto victory. Like once again, we've had decades of refinement to easing the pain of high encounter random battle bullshit, but these were fucking revelations in '95.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
We
Hell, even
wouldn't
for a
start
good
seeing auto victory stuff until mid 2000s in a lot of turn-based RPGs.
something like that, because a lot of RPG conventions continued well into the PlayStation 2 era, like Skies of Arcadia, a Dreamcast RPG, has a very famously awfully high encounter rates.
Mm-hmm.
Just to say one example. And there's even more innovations, like the rolling hit points.
Mm-hmm.
This is like I still can't think of another game that does this particular mechanic, and that is when you get hit, your hit points don't insta drop. They'll count down.
Which is fun because it lets a boss say, have an attack that does infinity damage, and you better rush through your character's things to get to the person who can heal before the end of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you do have the chance to recover or enact a finishing blow.
Yeah, so the
because
choice
your hit
becomes:
point
do
scroll
you
down
kill
does end
or
as
do
soon as
you?
battle does.
Yeah, do you kill it or do you take the safe option and heal and buff?
It depends on the character.
Yeah,
What
but
they
like
have,
it's better than like a lot of other games of the era where it was just you died.
Right. And like even to this day, you're not going to see too many games that have this system. Once again, there is a non-zero chance that Nintendo may have patented these things. So if they did, those patents would be would have expired about a decade ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know, but the point is like in terms of the 16-bit era of RPGs is when battle systems were really starting to experiment. Not quite the experimental insanity that the PlayStation era becomes, but you start to see it as early as the active time battle system in Final Fantasy IV. And yeah. Anyway, I could honestly talk about Earthbound for hours because there is just so much to this game. And there's a lot of videos and just everything dedicated to this strange programming that goes on with this game, and to that fucking Monty mole that's right outside the dry desert.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I know that's not the it's the Dusty Dunes desert, and it's the mole playing roughly, but just very Mario coded there in my mind for some reason. Anyway, Earthbound still remains one of my favorite games to this day. And I am glad that it managed to get the critical appraisal and influence that it deserved. It needed a more friendly era. And the good news is Earthbound is readily accessible. It's like you don't have to worry about buying one of those massively overpriced Super Nintendo cartridges. But seriously, I think those go for hundreds, if not thousands, these days. But that's also because game speculators ruin everything.
Mm-hmm. There's a special place in hell for scalpers of any kind, be they
Right.
cards,
Yeah.
games, movies, whatever.
Yes. But you can get Earthbound has been available, was made available on the Wii U Virtual Console, and ever since then, it's been a regular part of Nintendo's rotation. It's on the Nintendo
Yes, because it's
online.
easy to do that now.
Yes. And, it's not preservation. Like, the word preservation gets bandied about quite recklessly. Like, preserving a game, like, because first of all, having the game on the NSO is not preservation, because it could literally disappear tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Like, I'm sure there is about as much of the original game as Nintendo has available to them in a vault somewhere at Japan HQ.
Right. We're talking about accessibility, accessing the past.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're really talking about in terms of the preservation discussion. Because preservation involves, keeping keeping a record of the game somewhere, and usually sometimes through illicit means. Like sometimes the only way a game gets saved is via piracy,
Mm-hmm.
but it just means the game's saved on the black market. Okay, it's still saved, as opposed to not available anywhere, not in a museum, not in the collection, not anywhere. But that's getting a bit off track here. The point is, Earthbound, you can play,
Mm-hmm.
and quite easily these days. Now, one thing that will never go away is the quirk factor or the quirk barrier. Like Earthbound is a particular flavor of RPG. Like, you're either going to get it or you're not. If you don't get it, there's no shame in admitting that or thinking that it's boring. You know, like, yeah, Earthbound doesn't have the dynamism that a Squaresoft RPG from that time has. You know, they were doing experiments in different directions than, quasi real time stuff. But I personally would not call Earthbound boring. Other people do. These people are wrong. It's just, this is a quirk factory.
Mhm.
Right. So with that, I think we'll end our discussion on Earthbound here.
Alrighty.
And coming up on the week ahead. So we do have a Friday show, and if I can get to the right day. Okay. On Friday, May 16th, we'll be having Mark Bannister of Fremana Game Studio. We will be talking about Codex Lost, a Souls-like pact with dark magic. A new open-world spell-casting action RPG. The grimoires have been stolen. Civilization is in ruins. Rise, Rise Curator. Craft ancient elemental magics and challenge the great lords who threaten to fracture reality itself. Uncover the secrets and challenges of the Central Realms. Roam about the open fields. Delve into ancient tunnels. Plunder lost ruins. And discover what mysteries lay in wait in its most hidden corners. So, sounds like a rousing good time. I look forward to talking about this on Friday. And coming up on the Sunday reviews, we'll be having reviews of Punk Wars, impressions of Fur and Fable, and finally back to reviews with Stealth Bastard Deluxe. Yes, only 3 reviews this weekend because Galax is going to be too
Yeah, I'm
wrapped
gonna
up.
be busy this weekend.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
won't be there for the Friday show either.
right. So, until next time, I shall wish you good gaming.